I'll start and welcome everyone. I'm Amy Griffin from Opelka Gallery. I'm excited to introduce David Baecker from the Theater Institute and Carol Durant, who will be leading this program tonight. And thank you all for coming. Please mute your mics so that the honorees and the hosts can talk, and then we'll be asking for Q&As later. And we'll be recording this. Just want to let everyone know. So I'm going to turn it over. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. You're here. It's Thursday. David, you're here.
I'm here.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much to Judy Gilmore and Amy Griffin at Opelka Gallery, and the host with the most, David Baecker of Theater Institute at Sage, Russell Sage College, where some of you might be students.
I think I do have a lot of students on here tonight, and I'd like to say, if you're one of my students, stick around afterwards so I make sure I get attendance, because I'm happy to have all these students here. Thank you.
Thanks, students. Thanks, audience, for showing up tonight. And we have some talented honorees in our midst. You might have heard of them, you might not have heard of them, but tonight you will know of them and all the talent and fabulosity that they give to the Capital Region and beyond. David, take it away.
Okay, welcome everybody. Before I introduce our honorees for tonight, I just want to thank everybody for coming. And as ever, I want to thank Carol for this. This event was Carol's brainchild, and she puts it together beautifully. And here we are doing a second season of this over Zoom, which is nice. We had some really interesting people we honored last year. We learned about Maureen Stapleton. We learned about Jean-Remy Monet right before he was going into rehearsals for Ain't Misbehavin' this summer, which was wonderful. We had Bob Gepfert, who was who's theater critic in the area. We talked about Dr. Mars Hill of SUNY Albany, and we even had Morgan Hayward on, who's a former student at Russell Sage College, and talked about her theater work. So we've honored a lot of interesting people. We have a lot of interesting people on tonight, and thrilled with the turnout we're getting. So without further ado, I want to introduce Sheila London. She's the first person we're going to be speaking with tonight. I have a short bio of Sheila that I want to read to everybody. And then if this is your first time joining us, you'll know there's a great thing Carol's put together is we often have readings, short readings of poems, pieces of text that the honorees chose for us to listen to. So we're going to have Sheila's poem here in a bit, but before we go to the poem, let me start with saying Sheila London. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Sheila is the board president of the Black Theater Performance Troupe of Upstate New York, and she's one of Capital Region's very own gems. She's a recent retiree of the New York State Department of Health after 38 years in public health service. Thank you. We know how important that is these days. And she's a proud number of two, a son named Daryl and a daughter named Ariel. And Sheila's no stranger when it comes to the arts. In addition to acting, she's actively involved in music ministry and leadership with the Sweet Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church, which is her home church in Albany of 20 years. She's a valued and active member of the Black Theater Troupe of Upstate New York, formerly known as the Soul Rebel Performance Troupe. And with that troupe, you've executed many roles: actor, assistant director, working on makeup, stage and props, vocal coach, PR, and administrative duties. We're here tonight to talk about your work as board president. And Sheila's performed throughout the Capital Region, surrounding cities in the New England market, doing commercials, infomercials, voiceovers, stage readings. One of her favorite, most memorable stage performances was a dual role in Capital Region or Capital Repertory Theater's production of The Trip to Bountiful. And her love and joy of the arts is linked with the mission and vision of the Black Theater Troupe of Upstate New York to highlight and promote inclusiveness. educational performance, and theatrical pieces by artists of color, exposing all to many aspects of theater. Sheila, it's wonderful to have you here tonight, and I'm very interested by the poem that I believe Carol's going to be performing tonight. Before your interview, you get your poem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And tonight's poem that Sheila has selected is by Gwendolyn Brooks, who was the first African-American poet to win the Pulitzer Prize in Poetry, and that would be May 1st, 1950. From her book, Annie Allen, the poem is called The Children of the Poor. People who have no children can be hard, attain a male of ice and insolence, need not pause in the fire and in no sense, hesitate in the hurricane to guard. And when wide world is bitten and bewarred, they perish purely, waving their spirits hence, without a trace of grace or of offense, to laugh or fail, diffident wonder starred, while through a throttling dark we others hear the little lifting helplessness, the queer whimper whine, whose unridiculousness, lost softly, makes a trap for us, and makes a curse, and makes a sugar of the malocclusions, the inconditions of love. What shall I give my children, who are poor, who are adjudged the least wise of the land, who are my sweetest lepers, who demand no velvet and no velvety velour, but who have begged me for a brisk contour, crying that they are quasi-contraband, because unfinished, graven by a hand, less than angelic, admirable, or sure, my hand is stuffed with mode, design, device. But I lack access to my proper stone, and plenitude of plan shall not suffice, nor grief nor love shall be enough alone to ratify my little halves who bear across an autumn freezing everywhere. And shall I prime my children pray to pray? Mites come invade most frugal vestibules, spectered with crust of penitence renewals, and all hysterics arrogant for a day. Instruct yourselves, here is no devil to pay. Children, confine your lights in jellied rules, resemble graves, be metaphysical mules. Learn, Lord, will not distort nor leave the fray. Behind the scurryings of your neat motif, I shall wait if you wish. Revise the psalm. If that should frighten you, sew up belief. If that should turn singularly calm. At forehead and at fingers rather wise, holding the bandage ready for your eyes. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah. That was
Sheila,
great.
I think this is your third appearance on Stage and Stanza, and you've read with us before.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. It's an
Yeah.
honor to be here tonight. Thank you.
We're glad you're here. And one thing I'd like to start by asking is, you just worked for 38 years for the state of New York, and you've retired, and now you're the board president of a theater company. I thought you wanted to retire.
Wait, how did this happen? Exactly.
How did that happen? Talk to us about that.
It's a good thing. I did my spin at New York State Department of Health. I worked in public health with epidemiology, and then I'm so glad I got out when I did. I retired in January, and COVID came on in March. So but I still stay in touch with my coworkers, and we still have a long way to go. But I retired, and I thought I was going to just chill out and coast. And I've been involved with theater for such a long time, and the Black troupe, which was so rebel at the time, and I was going to the meetings and doing, everything that I could possibly learn about the theater, including the administrative end. And I guess the bottom line is they voted me the president. And I said, huh, okay, because I do believe in the mission, and I don't consider myself as just the president. I'm more like the people's president. I'm a performer. That's what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about the mission, and I want to see Black Troop Theater of Upstate New York. When you think of it, all the Black children and the ethnic children and people from all different races and cultures and diversity backgrounds will know, hey, I can do this. I can be a part of this. This is for me too. So that's, part of our mission, and I'm all with that. So I'm happy to be the president. I have a great, great, great board members and lots of volunteers and a lot of encouragement from the community. And it is what it is. I'm happy about it. And I just hope, we do big and better things. So look out, BTTUNY. That's us.
Well, Remy's lucky to have you, but you are doing bigger and better. This is quite a big season for you.
It has been so far. It is.
Mm-hmm. What have been the highlights, or what are you looking forward to?
Um, well, we just got finished doing our first presentation for the season. It was an outdoor event. It was called Barbecue, a play by Robert O'Hara. We did it in an outdoor venue at the Stephen and Harriet Myers residence in Livingston Avenue in Albany, New York. And it was a success, and it was challenging too, because to do theater, coming back from the pandemic, first of all, was a challenge with the protocols and the do's and the don'ts, but it was outside venue, and
Outdoor
it was
theater.
outdoor theater. That's all I need to say. Number one, and it was right in the area of a residential area. It was beautiful. So you not only had the elements of the weather, but you had the neighborhood and you had the sounds of the playgrounds, and so it was very challenging, but it was fun
Mhm.
and it was an experience. Not to mention the weather. It was the weather when we had the weekend. One of our opening weekends was Ira, I believe the storm was called. We just had it here recently, so that was a hindrance. But it was a great learning experience. And now we are doing our first indoor production at our new resident at Cap Rep. We're doing a play called Death and Breathing by Chisa Hutchinson. Yes, that's our first production as resident community company to take place at the Rep and in the Lauren and Harold Insolent Studio, which is located at 251 North Pearl Street in downtown Albany. And our dates, well, performance dates are going to be October 14th, 2021 through Sunday, October 24th. Its play is going to be outstanding, and we just hope everybody tunes in and comes. So that's what we have going upcoming. And
It's coming
we're
right up.
excited. We're excited.
Are you going to be in this?
No,
No.
I am not. I'll be behind the scenes, not on stage. This time I'll be doing, basic things, PR and volunteership, things like that.
What do you prefer, working on stage or in front of the audience, or behind the scenes?
Well, I like both. I love acting. I love singing. Um, on stage, behind the stage, I love seeing it all come together, making the magic happen, seeing the wheels are turning, how everything works to make it all just look so easy. When it's not, I get excited by the drama, I get excited by the intenseness, I get excited of the camaraderie, just the magic of theater excites me. It always did. So I don't know. It depends on what the venue is, what the project is.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a real family feeling putting
It
theater.
really, really is. And
Right.
we missed that during this pandemic,
Right.
because in theater, you get a chance to not only be this alter ego or someone you're not, but you also learn, from the other actors and the other experiences. And, it's a great thing. And it's missed. We missed that. We miss that person to person.
Yes, and we have someone agreeing. Yes, Andy, we
Hey,
agree.
Andy, absolutely.
And you've read poetry on here. Now we've never had you read or sing on here, so maybe we should have you sing on stage in Stanza if we ever. Carol says you're quite a singer. When did you start singing?
Oh, let's see. I probably started singing around 6 or 7 or 8. I was a little girl. I was raised in Albany, and I grew up in a Baptist church, the Morning Star Missionary Baptist Church, which is still there. And at the time, my pastor was, we were little kids, and he had this wasn't crazy, but it was such a name. It was like Reverend Moses Scipio Hunter. So we used to have a kick out of saying the whole name, Reverend Scipio, we'd always mix it up. And we had a lot of aunties. I had a Auntie Doris and Auntie D and Auntie Brooks and Auntie Mildred. So the aunties used to keep us in line. So if we sing out of tune or out of line, they would get us back together. So singing was always a part of me. I think that I like to sing all types of music. Um, I love gospel. I do like R&B. I like jazz and I like blues. I would probably choose gospel would rank over R&B, with the exception of old school. Old school is kind of can go either way.
Mhm.
But the new stuff now is kind of it's different. I'll just say that. But I also like jazz and I like blues because jazzy blues is very comforting yet exciting.
Mhm.
I mean, you know what I mean? It has this mysterious sense of bluesy, funky kind of feel that tells stories. It tells stories about love or hate, the good, the bad, the ugly. Actually, the ugly, but always the truth.
Mhm.
I did a piece, um, a monologue one time by this woman, a famous jazz blues singer. Her name was Alberta Hunter, and she used to refer to jazz. She say like, jazz to me is like milk to a baby, like medicine to a doctor for six folks who need it. And that's what you do when you're singing the jazz. You're truth telling. So
Mhm.
when I sing the jazz, I'm telling the truth. So I think about that. So yeah, that's what I like. I like all three.
The very best theater tells the truth. The very best music tells the truth.
Absolutely.
I think it's why we are drawn towards it. Why we want that experience.
I agree. And it's a good feeling. And I
Yeah.
want, all the young people to grow up and know, hey, I can do this. And even
Mhm.
some old folks jump in, because theater is wonderful and it's a great way to relate and express.
Do you have volunteer positions or opportunities for people with Black
Abs-
Theater Group?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
You can get a hold of us easily. We're on Facebook. You can Google the following websites: the Black Theater Troupe of Upstate New York to get to us. You can get to us through the Capitol Repertory Theater website. You can get to us at Proctor's. If you go to Proctor's website, the web UPH us Black Theater Troupe of Upstate New York will all come up. So
Mhm.
yeah, and there is a window, a slot, a drop down box for volunteers to let fill in for updates. Um, all that kind of good stuff.
That's great. And what's it like working with Remy? He's got a lot of energy.
Challenging and fun. Remy is awesome. I've been working with we've been knowing since, oh my gosh, a little over a decade. And I've worked with Remy on stage. He's taught me a lot as far as acting, stage management, directing, just how to put a show together to make sense. And I mean, I've learned a lot from him. He's gave me a lot of opportunities, and I'm a very appreciative to him. He's a great guy to work with. Actually, he's got a great sense of humor. He's full of energy, and he's just the same always. And his heart and mission is in the right place, and it's apparent. Anybody who knows him is a great guy. So he's a great person to work for
We always
and
really
with.
enjoyed having Remy at stage.
Absolutely, absolutely. You should.
Um, and in fact, I think you were on here maybe two of these ago. I had a student named Remy from Haiti
Yes.
when we were interviewing Remy, and we had two Remys from Haiti. It was
It was
wonderful.
unbelievable. It was classic. It was classic. And they both were from Haiti. It was unbelievable. It was good. It was
Yeah.
good. That's what I mean. It just brings us together, and we all are for one cause. And that's another thing. Everybody is all different nationalities. You come from all different backgrounds and races and beliefs. And the thing about theater, it doesn't matter once you're on stage.
The
We're all
story
here.
matters.
That's it. You got it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I am on that.
Yeah. Well, you probably have a lot of friends here. You probably have a lot of people maybe with questions. Does anyone have a question for Sheila they would like to ask?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you might be on the spot. No questions for
No
Sheila?
questions. I love it.
What's something you think people ought to know?
I think that you ought to know if you're out there, and you want to get into theater with speaking theater or music or any of the arts, don't ever think that you can't. You have something to offer even when you don't know what it is.
Mhm.
And here at BTTUNY, we want to know what it is. Come with us, check it out. We'll get it out of you. It's like Remy, he can meet you anywhere, any place, anytime, and he's trying to put you on the stage,
Mhm.
and I'm with that. So I say, yes, go to the website, like us, go to Facebook, share us, email us, join us.
And
Look
we have
down in the chat box. Our website should be there. And I think that, if you really, really want to do something like that, come on. There's a spot for anybody and everybody. And not only just on stage, but we train and teach backstage stuff too. So
I
I
think
just want you to know we're out there.
theater is available to anyone who wants to show up,
Absolutely.
because that's the first step, is showing up.
That's
Once
the
you're there,
very first step.
it can all be taught, it can all be trained.
And we say, just come on. The more, the better, because that's what we want to do. We want to keep theater alive and well in the capital region, even
It's
during a pandemic.
it's been a tough 2 years.
It's been a wicked.
Yeah. We
But
have a,
but David, we're still here.
we're still here. We have
We're
a
still here.
comment from Ira. He said music is the key to how he grew up. He can relate to your upbringing and your love of
Awesome.
different music and to the art you're producing now. He has a very deep slavery song from the Macintosh Singers by the name of Religion. So sweet.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a question from an Ariel. What's something new you've learned about yourself in your new role? It's a great question.
Well, I've learned that I have a lot more patience than I thought I ever had. I've learned to listen a lot more with from a lot of different viewpoints as far as being in the as a president.
Mhm.
Um, it's it's easy because I am a performer, I am an actor, I am an intuitive people person. So it's easy for me to see both sides where I thought that wasn't going to be possible.
Mhm.
In a million years, if someone said, well, Sheila, listen, we'll do this. If you just be our president. I was like, really? No, dude. No. But the pandemic changes you. You know, it really did change me. I take life a lot more seriously. Um, like I said, I focus on listening a lot more. It doesn't always work. I mean, sometimes I listen and I don't hear,
Mhm.
and then I have to go back. But I've learned how to do that. So that's one of the real important things I've learned during this process. And
Well, I'm
that's
always interested in theater, how there are such transferable skills that you bring to theater and you can take other places. I am interested, what did you learn through public health that you're able to bring to theater?
well, a lot of it was people skills with public health.
Mhm.
Actually, a lot of administrative skills too, because not only I also worked in a statistical unit, which things were systematically broken down into categories, which theater is as well.
Mhm.
But getting down to it, as far as the public service help and the epidemiology part of it all, Man, since the COVID, it's like I understand why these protocols are in place. I understand why you have to do A, B, and C, and when D, E, that make no sense whatsoever because it really does.
Mhm.
And I understand how important it is for us to pay attention to the facts, to science, and not listen to all this political, stuff like this and that. So I've learned to take that into my daily, integration with theater because just like church, theater, and things of that nature, where you're gathering in large groups and you have to function as one entity, it's a difficult thing in these day and age. With
Mhm.
you have to be careful about not only your life, but everyone else surrounding you.
Right.
So my background has given me a lot of okay, okay, this is
You have
why.
a great background, and there's a great need for your background in theater right now because you never know what it's like Jello, nailing Jello to the wall. It never sticks, and things are changing. We
Absolutely.
usually do upwards of 6 performances for school children, and we thought we're not going to get any school children this year. They can't do field trips. Now all of a sudden we have people wanting to do field trips, and so we're having to consult with
Exactly.
all these health agencies. How do we bring people in, et cetera? We have two comments here. One is a great interview. Albany was in the spotlight for theater back in the 70s when I worked with the late Mars Hill. We featured Mars Hill
Yes,
on
we
the
did.
program. And we performed at the Arbor Hill Center in New York City during the days of the Black Power movement. Theater is perfect. Yes, perfect for this. Um, we have another question. What does it take to be a board president?
Well, I'm not exactly sure if
Mhm.
there was a criteria. Like I said, I've been working with the troupe for about 11 years now, and I've been working in every aspect. I'm an actor, I'm a performer. Like David said earlier, I've worked in stage management, I've worked, in PR. Every entity that has to put this show together, I've worked with. I've used my skills from my health department, my epidemiology days, my public service to bring into that. So I think that helped a lot. I was very happy being a team player board member as well. But I guess because of my commitment, my passion, which is legit, as the young folks would say. It's probably outdated. I know you're there, my daughter, but but yeah, I think that's what prompted the board to vote me in or suggested I be it. So I accepted the task. And I enjoyed. Like I said, it was new for me. I've been member of boards, but never the president of one. But I'm learning an awful lot. I have a lot of resources and people who have done this for years in other nonprofit agencies, 501c troops like we are. And so I'm excited, and I'm excited for us to go bigger and higher. And 5 years from now, when you hear Black Theater Troupe of Upstate New York, you'll either be a part of it or want to be, but you'll know who BTTUNY is.
And your daughter says, congrats. I'm proud of you, mom.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Ariel. Thank you. She's way in Philly. She's a journalist, and I know she'd kill me for going here, but she works with 6ABC in Philly on the morning news. She is a television producer. Yes, yes, yes.
Great.
Thank you, Ari. I'm proud of you too.
Ariel, we'll be interviewing you on here next. Well, Sheila, thank you so much.
Thank
Sheila will
you.
be around. We can keep talking to Sheila. I'm glad you've done this program with us several times, and
I
I
am too.
look
Again,
forward to having you
thank
sing
you.
on it.
I'd love to.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you, David. I appreciate you all.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Sheila. And thanks to Ariel, shout out from Philly. Thank you so much. And everybody, don't go anywhere. The talent doesn't stop with Sheila. The
That's right.
talent goes on. We have talented people that have been hiding out in Albany, and we have another one in Mr. Ira Eugene McKinley. Ira, I hope you're ready. David, you're up.
Thank you. I just got to meet Ira, but I've been reading about Ira this week and enjoying it. So I'm going to start with Ira's biography. Ira's a filmmaker, a producer, a director, a documentarian, and activist. His first film, The Throwaways, is an impactful story of mass incarceration, police brutality, homelessness, and long-term activism. It was filmed prior to the events in Ferguson, Missouri, and the Black Lives Matter movement. And it features Michelle Alexander, the author of The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness. In 2013, The Throwaways won the Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King Recognition Award for nonviolent activism and was given by Siena College. Mr. McKinley is also won Producer of the Year from the Northampton Community Television and an ACLU Award for activism. Ira has a brand new documentary called Out of the Muck. It's the story of a Black family and their struggles and achievements in Florida. Out of the Muck is another directorial effort with talented filmmaker Bowen Suchek of Youth FX. And Mr. McKinley is currently editing his film for PBS and writing his memoir. Welcome, Ira. You've brought a quote today that I think Carol's going to be reading to us.
Yes, yes, yes. Ira's favorite quote is from Mr. Ralph Ellison, author of the National Book Award winning Invisible Man. And the quote, "I am invisible, understand, simply because people refuse to see me, like the bodiless heads you see sometimes in circus sideshows. It is as though I have been surrounded by mirrors of hard, distorting glass. When they approach me, they see only my surroundings, themselves or figments of their imagination, indeed, everything and anything except me."
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Ira. You know, Ira, it's interesting to me. You've worked with Bowen and Youth FX when pandemic hit and we needed to have our productions filmed. They really saved us last season. They're a terrific group. And did you get your start in filmmaking with them, or are you working in filmmaking before you worked with Bowen?
No, I started being homeless in Northampton, Mass. Excuse me. In Northampton, Mass. I was homeless. At the time, I was trying to figure out what I could do. So I joined the community television. And that was a way for me to really get my voice out in a different way by filming, you know, mostly social justice, because being homeless, I was really interested in social justice and things that was going on. This is like 2008 when in 2007, 2008, when Obama first started coming on, when the housing market crashed and the economy kind of crashed and we had that first bailout. And, you know, I was just trying to find a voice, you know, as a person that was homeless, you know, just to say, you know, look at me, you know, because I had a great upbringing. I was in the service, you know, I was in the Air Force, so, but I made some bad choices in my life. And that was, I would say, by the time I started my activism, I was out of prison like 7 years. And I see myself not going anywhere. I was in prison when the World Trade Center went down in 2001 in Staten Island. Came out, and all this is in the Throwaways. Came out to a environment that wasn't trying to help, especially a person of color who had a little record. You know, it was my first time ever being in prison. It was very traumatic, and I was like, okay, I'm not ever going back. Actually, it'll be my 20-year anniversary of coming out of prison this year in February. So when the World Trade Center happened, I had like 4 months to go. That was traumatic coming out, trying to get my footing. And it took me 7 years to get my voice heard because I was in and out of shelters, being homeless, living in tents, living in abandoned buildings, doing all these other. So that was when I really got my voice started, like 2008, 2009. You know, you go on YouTube, I have put in Ira McKinley, you can see a lot of the stuff that I did. You know, and I just took the camera with me everywhere I went. But I really focused on there for that first year and learning. And this was like a new field for me. I didn't know anything about filming, but they taught me the ins and outs. They taught you how to shoot like newscasts. I had to do internship and I was doing city council meetings. That's really what got me started. I was doing Northampton city council meetings. I had to go and film for like 3 or 4 hours every, other week. That was mandatory for me. But then I started listening to the politics and I'm like, why isn't people coming here to like see what these people are doing? And this is like during the time I was like becoming aware. And that's when I started my activism, and having that camera, your own visual, point of view to debate what the narrative that they were doing really, started me. And I became producer of the year because I was just bringing content. I also did music. I filmed at Dance Theater Harlem. I did anything that I could to film in a year and a half. And that just got me interested in just telling the story. But it started in Northampton, Mass.
And it's a fascinating way to find, your voice and point of view from behind a camera and, telling stories from a point of view we don't hear a lot.
And that's what I wanted to do. So, and that's when YouTube and all that, really people started looking at the content that YouTube was bringing. And so, go ahead. You had something.
What were the challenges in filming the Throwaways?
Well, it was interesting because we started during the Occupy Wall Street. We were there. So we went to New York City. We had close vicinity. So we was raising money. And when we started, we were like basically telling the Occupy story from the point of view of somebody poor. But then we were like, okay, it'd be more interesting telling a story of somebody that's homeless and me as a subject is getting these visuals and what I had to go through. And also standing up. There was a lot of police brutality. My father was shot and killed by a cop when I was 14. I got beat up. So all this stuff we put in the story. And it was like, okay, the stuff that they're standing up for, and this is before Ferguson, and then we really got into it. Because Ferguson and Baltimore started happening. We started in 2011. We finished filming that at like 2014, end of 2014. And those 3 years, and the whole time I was homeless, living in abandoned buildings, living on people's couches, and and we were getting people interested, but just not having a stable home setting. So it was definitely hard, but it just showed the realization of somebody that wanted to just get back into society and do the right thing and just show my value. Like when the young lady said before me, I mean, I could relate to everything that she was saying about the music and how that view and how I was brought up with those different type of visuals and how it was important for me to show people that, listen, even though I'm homeless and even though you say I'm not worth anything, I am. So that was the start for me. And becoming producer of the year, I did some shows too. I did a harmless artist showcase during the same time. And I produced a fashion show. I was doing art in the park, all this stuff. You know,
Oh.
I did, you know, we did all this, and then we had buskers, so they had people singing. So I sat out there for a month signing people up. Because if you ever go to Northampton, you know, they have live music in the streets. That's what we called it.
Yeah.
So that was 2009. And then from there, I did a reggae festival. The next season, I did a concert series in the park. And I got the businesses involved. And then I was like, okay, I need to, you know, and I showed it. You know, I was producing the show and filming it at the same time. So I can understand like what she's saying, because this pandemic hurts, you know, different people, especially us in art, you know what I'm saying? The interaction, you know, and then, you know, doing Out of the Muck, that took me 5 years to get to the point where we are now. But we have more back.
Okay. You're working on a piece on gentrification now.
It's in pre-production.
Okay.
Out of the Muck is in post-production. Hopefully we get in Sundance, but Sundance has backed us. We're part of their talent forum that was in 2019. So they helped produce them. Ford Foundation. I need to give a shout out to these people. Sundance, ITVS, Ford Foundation, Southern Documentary Fund. Because this story is about the South, but it's very important because it relates to Zora Neale Hurston, Harvest of Shame, and all this. So when you see the trailer, it's only a minute long, but there's a couple more that tells the story. There was a hurricane and where my mother and father met in Florida. They brought us up through the migrant camps. So we tell this whole story, and it's, you know, we don't even have enough time for me to do it. But right now, from that area, since 1985, they have produced 85 NFL players coming from that area. And one town's only 7,000, the other town's 22,000. You can look it up, SB Nation on YouTube. Muck, you know, it's called Muck City or something like that. But all you got to do is put SB Nation on YouTube and Muck, and it shows the rivalry and how all these people, they chase rabbits through the sugarcane field. That's how they get quick. And it was interesting. So when we went down there to film, like we went down there for a year, it was like 2016, and we followed the football team. My nephew was the defensive coordinator, and they had an undefeated season. Mm-hmm. And it just follows that whole history of how, even though this place has nothing, you know, they have hope and the people that come out of it because of the resilience. And that's what we try to show.
I'm pretty nuts about Florida. It's its own land, it's its own people, and it's a pretty unique place.
Yeah, so the Muck is where the Seminoles are.
And everything that's I went to grad school down there. Once you get away from everything that's very touristy about it, it's pretty interesting.
Once you come into where we're at, where it's part of the swamp, it's part of the Everglades, it's called the Glades. Mm-hmm. It's right there on the lake, Okeechobee. And that's why they had the hurricane. They didn't have a dike. It's sort of what happened in Katrina. In 28, it killed 3,000 people. So there's mass graves of African Americans. There's one of, it's 627 bodies in West Palm. That's where Trump is, the same county that Trump is at. And then you go west 40 miles and there's another grave of 200. So like what they were showing with the Tulsa stuff, this stuff has been happening in areas all throughout the South, you know, where they have mass bodies and they just threw them in there, covered them up, you know, they made people dig the ditches, and it was horrible. It was horrible. They wouldn't save them. They wouldn't let them come into the shelters. So they had to stay out there in the elements. But, you know, and that's the story that we're trying to tell now. The one that you're talking about is called A Tale of Two Cities. There are some, you know, you look Ira McKinley up, there is some stuff that I did. And that's really about gentrification where I grew up in Ithaca, New York. So my family moved us from Florida during the 60s and moved me to New York, where I could have a better education. I grew up, I was born and raised in Ithaca, where Cornell University, Ithaca College and all that. So I had a great education and a great upbringing. But just to see how they went from being very, I say, progressive to like, now it's all about money and you can't live where we used to live. Now they have people coming that's not from there, that used to be these families that used to live there, and now they're on the outskirts. And it's sort of like a sundown town to me, because if you don't get out by that last bus and you don't have a car, you're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also part of the Underground Railroad. So Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, all these people came through here. So just showing that history.
Yeah, and it's the history of a lot of upstate New York towns. You know, you think about Troy, we certainly had the Underground Railroad here, and I think we're certainly starting to feel the effects of gentrification in a lot of ways. I was interested in the fact that you operate as both producer and director, which are both really different skill sets. Do you have one that you prefer doing over the other?
Well, as a producer, you got to get people involved. But also, as a director, and I'm like, of course, I have Bowen. Me and Bowen has been partners for 10 years. We did the Throwaways, we did this. It's a different entity than Youth FX, but we use their people to come down and film. So we use the young youth, and we take them on, like, we'll say a field trip, and we have a 10-day shoot, and we'll pay for everything. Thankfully, like the budget we had this time, we was able to do that, you know, give them some experience of being in the field, working on a project that is, you know, that they have to have some responsibility for, you know, timing of the shoots, what we're gonna do this day, planning, and they're very talented. And I appreciate all the help that I got from Youth FX, and they're still going. And I know the pandemic hurt them, because you know how it is. Because all these, like when we do art, the interaction and focusing on the people is what it is. You know, thankfully we were lucky, and I thank God for, you know, what we went through. By the time the pandemic hit, we were done filming, so it was the editing part. The hard part was like me and Bowen not being able to sit together for the last year and a half, you know, and getting the story, you know, straight. And having to go, we have a supervisor from ITBS that we talked to, Sam Pollard. I don't know if you know who Sam Pollard is.
No. Sam
Pollard did Juice. He edited Juice. He produced Katrina and 4 Parts. So if you look him up, IDMB, he did Crooklyn and all this stuff with Spike Lee. So he's a partner with Spike Lee on a lot of stuff, and he does his own production. He took us on. So he's our executive producer, and, you know, just getting the feedback from him. And he teaches at NYU. So just going to NYU, going back and forth, doing all these things, it's been a great experience that we the last year and a half we couldn't experience because of the pandemic. So what we're trying to do is a 3-part trilogy. So you have the Throwaways, now you have Out of the Muck. That shows where I came from, the struggle, and now the struggle of what Ithaca, New York is becoming because of Cornell University has become this big $1 billion industry. And they say they're a university, they control everything, you know. And because Ithaca's gorgeous, they have all these waterfalls, you know, they have a memorandum of understanding that they had with them since 1980 something, you know, when they were starting to use the hydro for electricity. And that's how it still runs a lot of the stuff that Cornell's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's an interesting story because it's like, you know, I would say I grew up in a great time to realize, you know, I have all these stories to tell and the opportunity to tell them. You know, and even though I was homeless like 10 years ago, the struggles I did, you know, to get to where I was at from 20 years to this point, and to never give up. And that's part of the struggle. You know, the starving artist is a big thing, but if you believe in what you're doing, you'll keep that motivation on. What is great about what we're doing now is that we have, you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but we have two of the PBS programming, Independent Lens and POV, like really interested in the film.
That's great.
You know, so we
Great
know
shows.
you could be like an Emmy Award winning film because the way we laid it out, it's not scripted, but it looks like it's scripted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So
Go ahead.
no, you go ahead because I'll keep on talking.
No, it's fine. You were telling me a great story before we started, and it just having to do with activism. Somewhere between all of your filmmaking and work in the pandemic, you ended up in Georgia on a really interesting day. If you wouldn't mind sharing that, I think that's a terrific story people would love to hear.
Yeah. Part of my activism is going out there. You know, you'll see, like if you Google me on YouTube, you'll see some of the demonstrations I've done. So when after George Floyd of that being, you know, that was the first couple months, but you know, I got kind of upset with the politics of it. And so George Floyd, I really started getting back out there to the streets when they allowed us to. But one of the important things was turning the Senate blue. So I volunteered to go to Atlanta. And I was down there from December 20, right after Christmas, December 26th to like January 6th. And knocking on doors, people, like some of the people like chasing me out of here, get out of here, you know what I'm saying? And I was telling them, don't ever, you know, I was in Atlanta. So I did the Atlanta area in Georgia. And I went down there for 10 days to knock on doors to get people to vote in the special Senate election, to flip it, which we succeeded. But coming back, I came back on January 6th, right after the vote. I think the vote was the 4th or the 5th. They counted the vote out the next day, and I knew they were doing stuff. They had this stuff with, you know, the people from Trump coming to DC. And I was flying from Atlanta to Dulles to Albany. And when I landed, my plane left at 11 o'clock, but I didn't get back into Albany until like 6:37 because I had a 3-hour layover in DC. And so when I laid there, when I got there, it was about 1:30, 1 o'clock. I seen all these people in DC. I'm in DC at the airport, Dulles, and it was empty. Nobody's there. And I'm like, well, where's everybody at? You know, I've been here before and it's been packed. You know what I'm saying? So I went to go eat and I sat down and watched the TV and I'm watching all these people attacking, you know, the Congress over there. So I was there January 6th. You know, I keep the plane ticket to show people proof of it. I didn't have a camera or anything. I even lost my phone. So I didn't even have a phone to record any of these videos. But to see all these people rush back my plane was leaving at 5:30, about 4:30, 4 o'clock, I seen all these wave of people coming. And I'm just sitting there and I saw someone put two and two together. I was like, yo, they're coming back from the Capitol. And why are they not being held and questioned? Because before this whole place was empty. There's no way like at 4 o'clock you're gonna get all these people trying to run to catch their flights back. And it was chaos. And you even had some Army Reserve people there. And I was like, they didn't get an order to stop these people. So it kind of pissed me off because I'm like, here I am, risking my life to go down to Georgia, to knock on doors, to flip the Senate, and you guys are just want to take that back, and there's no. And to me, it was like I was so frustrated, man, because it was like there's no recourse for what they just did. And if it was me, like they said, I know I would have been shot because of the experience I've been through. I couldn't go up to that Capitol and try to bang on the door to do all that and then come back and try to catch a flight home and not get stopped.
This was a day in the airport you needed a camera.
And God works in mysterious ways because I had lost my phone and I had my laptop, what I got right here, what I'm working with, but I can't take no pictures with that. You know what I'm saying? So It was like maybe it wasn't for me to film them, but I questioned a couple of them. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I was just so angry, and I was like, yo, let me leave it alone. Let me get home. You know what I'm saying? Let me get out of here, because I feel like, you know, they just, you know, stumped on my democracy of trying to do the legitimate thing by knocking on doors and going out and risking my life in Georgia. And you come here and you just, because you feel you're, you know, and it's just, you know, what you see going on and on. So as us as artists, and you like theater, you know, I know you that emotion that you feel, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it comes out. Now, how can I show that? How can I change the world with that? You know what I'm saying? I have a great opportunity to get, you know, and it's not like me going viral. It's like me doing it, you know, the way that artists did, but back in the day. You know, I feel like I did my, you know what I'm saying? I did everything I did. I did 20 years of this. Well, 12 years of filming, which isn't long, but activism and being treated like a throwaway, I feel like, okay, down here, we're gonna make life better for everybody. But then you see how they put these obstacles up, and it's, to me, I can't do it. I can't. And this is what I tell people, because I felt like picking up a gun and shooting people. Best thing I ever did was pick up a camera to shoot you. You know what I'm saying? I didn't take that anger out of me being homeless and me feeling this way or that way, but the anger's there. But I was like, I mean, I'm going to the city council meeting, I'm speaking up, I'm doing all these things, and they just look at me like I got two heads, you know what I'm saying? And they do that, they can ignore you. Well, I'm like, well, you can't ignore this.
It's channeling into art, and that's what the best artists do.
Yeah, I turned that anger into, you know, something positive. So that's why I deal with social justice issues. But it burns you out, though. It does.
Yeah.
You know, it messes with my mental sometimes. You know,
It's a heavy load to carry
it is. You
and
know,
deal with every day. A lot, you know, a lot
for
of
me,
times people take a break.
Bring this story out, especially out of the muck, and to see the mass graves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, damn, they didn't give a fuck about us 100 years ago. Look how they did us. You know what I'm saying? And to see the conditions that's going on now, and to understand that these people don't know, like, what their real strength is.
Yeah.
They come together, you know what I'm saying, and demand stuff.
Do we have any questions for Ira? We have a God bless you from Sheila London.
Tell her thank you. I know I just went in deep, but you know what I'm saying?
No, it's great. It's
if
great.
they don't have any questions and they listen and they got something out of it, that's good. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and we want to know if people want to watch the Throwaways.
We're still,
find that?
we even though that's been released for almost 6 years, you know what I'm saying, we didn't want to lowball ourselves. We knew this project was going to become big. So my email is irate. They can ask for it, you know, send us a donation. We'll give them I'll give them a Vimeo link for them to watch it, you know. But once it becomes sold, because it hasn't been sold, it hasn't been, you know, we haven't had people ask us, you know, like from these different, you know, like Hulu and all that, ask us. We had one group ask us, but it was a real low price, so we're holding on to it.
Good.
So if people want to see it, it's there, but it's not. We want to package it where all three of these films. This film is broadcast. PBS owns the broadcast rights.
Okay.
But they don't own theatrical. They don't own, and that's what an independent filmmaker is. So we still have theatrical. We have colleges and universities that we can take it to and have these talks, you know, working with them. And then we have the, you know, the Netflix and all that, you know what I'm saying? So the way it is being, you know, it's our property and you own it. And you know, when you have a hit maker, you want to keep the rights to certain things. And that's why you haven't seen it, but it's available.
Okay.
It's
Good.
out
Yeah,
there.
I think
Okay.
Carol put it in the chat. Carol also has a question. What kind of camera do you use?
Oh, when you're doing this, you have to use a Canon C100, C200s, or C300s.
Okay.
You know, be able to slow your footage down. It takes up a lot of space, you know, like for this film we just did, I mean, we terabyte drives, like 12 terabyte drives, we had to get at least 10 of them.
That's a lot of organization too.
Yeah, it is. But it was kind of easy because we knew what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? And we knew the dates we were down there, and we organized it by dates and what we wanted to do. The story came about itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was about family and the history, and everything just worked out. You know what I'm saying? They had a championship season when we followed them, and we just showed just the reality. How U.S. Sugar owns all the land and is not really giving back. You know what I'm saying? There's a real large population of Jamaicans and Haitians, and it looks like a third world country. You go down there, you think you're in Cuba.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's just the reality of it. But the togetherness and how they live, it's not nothing for them boys to get a gator, you know what I'm saying? Or to get like one of them wild hogs, and you can't just eat a wild hog, you gotta soak that thing for a week and burn all the hairs off and gut it and put in this, have different like mixtures that you put on that before you can even serve it. You know, you can go fishing and catch like 60 fish. You go there at 6 o'clock, by 10 o'clock, you got 60 fish and you can feed your whole family. And then you have avocado trees, mango trees, all that. It's just wow.
It's all there.
Yeah. And some of the people live a long time, even though they have all this misery. Like my mother's 92, my aunt's 91. Then we have another female that's in there who was part of the hurricane of 28, and she's like 97 right now. Wow. Yeah. So it's a very interesting story that we're telling right now. And that's why we're getting a lot of recognition. And which is good, but you know, it's still a struggle. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, you want to help people, you want to interact, and you know, this, you know, what we just went through, this pandemic, you know, I don't do good, you know, being isolated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, none of us do. Maybe we can show it at Sage when we can all really gather. That would be a good place to have a showing. Have you had any local showings?
We haven't. We're trying to, the next one we're doing, we're trying to get, we're in the fine cut stage. We're trying to get this ready, hopefully for Sundance, if they invite us, which I'm pretty sure they did. You know, they invited us for the talent forum. We want to premiere it there, but we just talked to PBS. They were like, well, you could do community engagement showings at the same time that you're doing these festivals before they broadcast it. They're allowing us to do that. So we haven't any time because we're finishing this edit.
Yeah.
And we have 2.5 months to get it together. You know what I'm saying? It's going down the wire right now.
Editing is it's a trying process. It takes a lot of time, a lot of patience.
I mean, this story has changed many times, but now we know. So we're in a fine. We can't really change the storyline from where it is now. Mm-hmm. We might add a piece. Like I want to add a piece with my aunt that we did in Atlanta with my family, which, you know, goes with the film. And it's just during the time. So we only have, you know, only a period, you know, to tell the story. Then we got to cut it down for like overseas, all that. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
And we have a comment from Opelka Gallery. We'd love to show it and/or the Throwaways when we resume film showings in our lecture screening room at the Opelka. So that'd be great. Do we have any other questions for Ira from the audience? We have a nice big audience. Thoughts or questions? Anybody?
It's interesting that everybody's so shy in the audience, but okay.
Well, if you look up, I'm gonna tell you, if you Google Ira McKinley or go to YouTube and put Ira McKinley, you can see some of the films I did. Some of it's music, some of it social justice, some of it and if you put in and the film I'm doing, I did a little excerpt. There's like 3 of them, and about the next one is called A Tale of Two Cities, but you know we'll change that, and that's what you'll see about the Ithaca pieces I'm doing.
Well, what I did while you and David were speaking, I put in the chat box just to underscore what you all were talking about during the interview. Youth effects, both of the YouTube and the Vimeo for both the Throwaways and Out of the Muck. You have the link for youth effects, the link for Mr. Pollard, and so everyone will be able to view that, and it'll be up online as well. Correct, David?
Yes. Yeah.
So everyone will be able to view that, and of course, stay in touch with what you all are doing, the great work that you're doing as filmmakers, as an independent filmmaker, you, Bowen, and the crew at Youth Effects, and because your story is a legacy and it's a family history story that we definitely all can learn from.
Well, it's interesting because what's her name, Sheila?
Yes.
Yes. When she started talking, I wasn't going to I was going to go ahead, but I started listening to her story, and it's like, well, I could relate because it's the same thing. The church, listening to all these different styles. I grew up with Soul Train. I remember Soul Train. The professor might remember Soul Train. And they don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and it was just a different time. And it's like the music's different now, and they're not really talking about the art. You know what I'm saying? And that's always going to be there. And how do we bring it back? So hopefully, I'm going to be very busy in the next year, but I would love to maybe collaborate with the young lady who spoke earlier and with you guys and see what we come up with. You know what I'm saying? I'm just right now trying to really focus on finishing this project because it's coming down to the wire, but and I know this the festival season, when we do the festivals, that's going to be busy, but after that, slow down. But if you guys wanted to screen the Throwaways, we could do something for next semester.
All right. Well, let's stay in touch about it because that would be great, and hopefully we'll be able to gather and really do it.
Yeah.
Not just watch it over Zoom.
Yes.
And all those that's doing with Capital Rep, I think is it one by IDR? Is that where they're at now?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, you guys did a good job, man. And I had a question. I was like, how do you keep up your, during all that, when you can't, because acting, you got to touch, you got to be, it's a physical thing, and that pandemic, I mean, that sends you into depression when you can't.
Absolutely, especially with the pandemic and all. Like you said, it is a touch and feel good kind of thing. You feed off another actor, but you learn to rely on your other senses a lot more. That's where your heart comes into play a lot, because you have to think and act at the same time, which is kind of difficult because your brain and your heart has to work together. You know what you want the audience to receive, and you know what you're trying to project, but you got to learn how to do it totally different now. It's one thing when I reach out and embrace you. Listen to me. You can't do that anymore. You got to not touch and speak it through your eyes, through your soul.
I'm really not good at these Zoom meetings, but I know it's, we need to keep the love alive. But
you're doing fine.
I know. I mean, I can do it.
We do what we do.
best we
It's
do.
been
I
a
can
learning
adapt.
curve
That's
for
right.
all of us. Everybody's, students,
Absolutely.
kiddies have had to learn to go to school on Zoom. Doctor's appointments. Yeah, it's a big learning curve.
Everything is unbelievable, but
Yeah.
that's where we are.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it, and this has been a great way to kick this off for the next year. Our next one,
I'm
Carol,
sorry, though,
is
sir. I apologize that you didn't get your questions in. I just talked.
Oh, no, oh,
No,
no.
I gave you the whole life story.
and we still have time. We still have time. If
We still have
questions
plenty of
come
time,
up,
but before I forget, I wanted to make sure if anyone out there in our audience, whether it's you all actually, or whether it's a friend or family, or even a frenemy, if you wanted to support any of the organizations, whether it's Opalka, Theater Institute, Cap Rep, Black Theater Troupe, or Ira, how can we do that? And that could be with, volunteerism, it could be
Absolutely.
money, it could be just a phone call, it could be
Yes.
sponsorship, donors. So how can we do that?
be
Any
an
of you?
audience.
Anybody know how
Be
to
an
build a
audience
web
member.
page?
We need audience members right now more
We
than
do.
anything.
Okay,
We'll get
so
the word out.
we'll start with the audience, but how can we support you all?
I'm sorry, was that for me?
Any of you, anybody can start.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier, please go to our Facebook page, like us, share. Go to our website. There's tons of places where you can sign up and see what's going on. If you want to volunteer for auditions, if you want to be a part of things, you can also find out. Like I said on Proctor's website, you will get the rep. You will get Black Troop. You go to Cap Rep, you will get Black Troop. You go to Black Troop, you will get us. Support us. We support you. We want you. We need you. Word of mouth is the best thing. Tell your coworkers, tell your friends, tell your church members, tell everybody. Come on out. Theater is back. Let's
And
keep it living.
we open a show at
David?
Sage next weekend. It's a musical called Calvin Berger. It plays the first through the third, 4 performances only, and we'd love to have you in the audience.
Amy?
With me, it really
Thanks.
isn't.
Amy put up the link for Opalka. Thanks, Amy.
I put up the link
Ira?
theater.sage.edu.
I mean, if they wanted to see the Throwaways, they can. They have to email me direct. Ira. It's not really for sale. We have. We're working with a marketing team and all this with PBS, so that's why, at the next 3 months is going to be like I'm focusing on just trying to get this because they're giving me access to a team. You know what I'm saying? Like things that she was saying. I want to sit back and see. I'm trying to clear my mind to get this, especially now that we're coming in, and the winters are hard for me. So I'm trying to eat right, do the right thing, get my mind right to finish this. So they can look at my Facebook page, which I'm really not on. You know that. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to take a break from all that. And it's not, it's just me just working on myself right now. You know what I'm saying?
Understandable. Well, if you don't mind, Ira, we certainly would leave the charge and be a conduit for you if somebody is interested. Like Amy's up. Amy, please, about the Throwaways and Opalka, please continue. And know that we will get Ira in touch with you and vice versa, so we can make it happen.
Yeah. Who's Amy?
That's me. We used to do films at Opalka Gallery. We had a film series, and we had just started working with someone who was curating a film series when the pandemic hit. So when we get back to showing films, we would love to do that. Would be great to partner.
Okay. No
We will
problem.
be back on Zoom, I believe, with another stage in Stanza on the 18th of November.
Yes.
And that is going to be a Trans Day of Remembrance. I believe we're going to have Sage alums reading poems at that event. And I think the event is still being developed.
Yes. And we are at Stage and Stanza. We're looking for audience, and we love the fact that you all have taken your time to support us in the ways that you do by, again, showing up. A lot of you have indeed told your sphere of influence and passed the links along. So we thank you very much. And again, Stage and Stanza, November 18th. We are still in development, but we will put up the link and give you all the info. We thank you all for coming and doing the fantastic job that you did of being a great audience to honor our fantastic, talented honorees in Sheila London and Ira McKinley.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having me. It's my
Amy,
pleasure.
Judy, David. Thank you all so
you.
much.
Thank
I
you,
just,
everyone.
Yep,
I want to add one more note before we sign off.
absolutely. Go ahead, Amy.
Well, at first, I want to thank you and David both for organizing this event.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Sheila and Ira, for being here. And also just to note, the event in November is a partnership with the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Russell Sage, who we at Opelka are also partnering on a beer garden with. It was supposed to be tomorrow night, but because of the rain, we're postponing it to October 1st. So if everyone wants to join us on October 1st for our pop-up beer garden, it's in partnership with the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. It's in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, and it's called Fiesta Fantastica. We're having a couple of different taco trucks are going to be there, 2 different brewers, and a couple of DJs. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
And they should bring ID, right?
Bring ID for beer. I hope there'll be some non-alcoholic option also. Last time we had one, we had a non-alcoholic option, but IDs, vaccination proof if you want to go inside to see the exhibition, the Mohawk Hudson Regional Exhibition. But if you're just outside, you don't have to bring your proof of vaccination. So join us.
Great. And if you were a student of mine here this evening, I've marked you present. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a
I
great
gotta go.
weekend
Yep.
and enjoy.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Sheila, seriously, you should. We got to figure out how can you sing on Zoom?
Oh, sure.
Yes. Maybe we have to film you singing.
We may have to do it like that, but I'd love to. But thanks, guys, for having me. I mean, I really love all you guys. I always have a good time here. Thank you for what you do, Carol and David, Amy. I mean, you're so appreciated, and it's so needed. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Remy
Great
snuck
program.
on here at some point during this.
I think he did.
Yeah, he was probably just leaving rehearsal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's very true.
I am here.
I thought you were there. Hi, Remy.